Hello, this is the England Pod Lionesses edition, where England are into the quarterfinals of Euro 2025. A big 6-1 win over Wales to finish second in Group D. It is Sweden up next. With me to review the game against Wales, Kathryn Batte from The Telegraph and David Walker. David, was pretty much a perfect night. 6 different goal scorers. And as we said in the previous pod, because of the scoreline, Sarina Wiegman managed to take a few key players off and get some other players some minutes on the pitch. Couldn't really have gone much better.
Yeah, so much for my nervy 1-0 win prediction. Yeah, as you say, a perfect night for England. The France game, long in the memory now, it seems. And despite the fact that actually Wales, to be fair, scored a good goal, had a couple of other little moments and kept going, but the gulf in quality and in class was pretty clear from the start, wasn't it? The fact that the subs were able to come on and have an impact. Beaver Jones scored and Mead scored off the bench. Yeah, a very pleasing night. Confidence flowing through the team now, it would seem. But then as we'll get on to today and also in the next pod, a sterner test awaits. But in terms of what we had to do, we had to win the game. We had to go through for a little while. We were topping the group, weren't we? But so our qualification was never in doubt during this match. Job firmly done by England.
Kathryn, what did Sarina Wiegman have to say afterwards? She must have been pretty satisfied with all of that.
Yeah, she was, and it's interesting listening actually to Rhian Wilkinson after the game. She said there was a fitness gap between England and Wales players, and I think you could see that, and that probably comes down to the level of club football they're playing. England just took the foot off the gas, didn't they? When they were far enough ahead, they knew that they were they didn't want to probably risk overexerting themselves when they didn't need to. And that's the second half was a bit of a difficult watch actually, because it just sort of turned into a little bit of an exhibition match, and that's why actually I was quite pleased that Wales did manage to go forward and just sort of get a goal, because I felt like it did sort of wake England up a little bit, as if to say, like, if you do switch off that much, like you are going to concede goals. So I think actually, Sarina will have been annoyed that they did concede. But it was nice to see Beaver Jones come on and get her goal, Beth Mead as well. It was interesting, kind of the subs that Wiegman made, because we were sort of saying, like, what was she prioritising in that moment? Obviously, Ella Toone came off at half time because she was on a yellow card, not from that game, but from one of the previous games. So, Chloe Kelly, Beth Mead and Beaver Jones, the 3 players that came on that are probably going to be coming off the bench in future games. And then Jess Park came on at half time, and we'd sort of spoken about how she'd not played yet.
Whole zone, we need to say.
Yeah, it felt like that one was more of a one to kind of give her some tournament football a little bit. And we were sort of sat there saying, like, people like Lotte Wubben-Moy or Maya Letizier, who are maybe going to struggle to get game time in this tournament, that was probably the chance for them to come on and get a little bit of time. But I think Sarina was probably prioritising getting the players that are going to be more likely to come off the bench in the future games to keep them kind of involved with things. But I don't know if you guys saw the clicking celebration that the England players were sort of doing after...
Yeah, what was that?
Yeah, so it was more kind of prominent after Beth Mead's goal, but they did do it like on quite a lot of the goals as well. And apparently Beth Mead was saying after the game that in the changing room beforehand, they were the players were sort of like clicking in to like a bit of rhythm to sort of like half kind of settle the nerves. But she also said, like, for the players that kind of are involved, it was almost like a way to kind of keep them involved in things, because they were all sort of doing that clicking together. So when then they scored the goal, they kind of all do the celebration. Keira Walsh said she had absolutely no idea because she doesn't score enough goals to be involved in the celebration talks. But to be fair, she did go close a few times last night. So
she did.
Yeah, it was pretty much a perfect night for England, really, wasn't it?
Sort of West Side Story vibes, is it? Or yeah, the sort of clicking. Yeah, no, that was a bit confusing. I was kind of thinking, okay, I should probably know what this is. But yeah, good to know everyone else was quite confused. I'd like to talk a bit more about Keira Walsh, actually, Dave. Don't you feel like she's, like in previous tournaments, she's kind of been told, it's almost like she's stayed in kind of a very set position, sort of the base. She's been getting forward more, and she scored against France, and she nearly scored, she had a couple of sighters, didn't she, against Wales?
Yeah, the one late on as well, with a really good save from the Welsh goalkeeper. But I think, in this sort of game, when Wales were defending so deep and we just had so much of the ball, she is gonna find herself a bit further forward on the edge of the box in those positions, and she has got a good shot, even though she only scored her first goal for England just before the tournament, right? So it's not like she's got a massive record of knocking them in, but she clearly can do it. As you said, Kathryn, it did turn into a little bit of a sort of training exercise, exhibition thing, but you have to keep going. You do have to come up against these teams in tournaments, and you have to have the composure, the concentration, the application to keep going. And I was sort of joking in the predictions that it could be, we could have got a nervy 1-0 win. You can. Sometimes those games can become tricky, but it didn't. It never even came close to that for England. So that's a really pleasing aspect. I think, we can talk about other individuals as well, but to kick off with Stanway, 10 out of 10 penalties for England, I think she's got now. Looking at the way she celebrated and the kind of composure that she showed for the pen, and coming into this tournament off the back of a big injury layoff, I just sort of had a moment where I looked at her and I thought, if we do get to the final, if we were to win this tournament, I could just kind of see her being the central figure, and her really coming to the fore as like England. You've got other contenders as well, obviously. Something about her that I just think she's ready to rise to the occasion, and that she's over there playing for Bayern Munich. She's a serious player. Yes, the France game was difficult, but now she's had a few games getting up to speed, and I think in the knockouts she could be a big player for us.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think the first game, so many key players for England underperformed, and I think Stanway was one of them. And I think when your key players underperform, it affects everybody else. And I think when they have a good game, it brings kind of the level up, and I think Stanway is one of them. And she's been so much better in the second and third game than she was in the first. And it was almost like I think she needed that first game to just blow the cobwebs off slightly, get back up to speed. And it reminded me a little bit of Millie Bright from the World Cup, where in the first game against Haiti, she really, really struggled. And then for the rest of the tournament, she was excellent. I feel like we're seeing that now with Stanway a little bit. She just makes the midfield tick, I think, and she's like the perfect kind of complement to Keira Walsh. They work so well together. And then I think Ella Toone playing in front of them again is like the perfect midfield free combination. When all three players are on it, it just works perfectly. And they seem to have like a really good understanding between the three of them as well. And I thought Ella Toone was kind of working so hard off the ball. And Keira Walsh actually said after the game, she got player of the match, so she came in and spoke to her. She said the work that Ella Toone does off the ball is almost even better than the stuff she does going forward, because she says it helps kind of, her and Georgia out so much. And she actually felt that that's kind of one of the key things that stopped other teams is Toone's work off the ball. So I think that midfield three has just been brilliant. But yeah, I do think Stanway is really, really key to, how far England can go in this competition.
With Ella Toone only playing the first half, but she actually got the highest rating on FOTMob in terms of the individual players. I mean, thanks to her goal and 2 assists. But she was superb in the first half, and it's funny to think that she wasn't in the starting lineup against France, and now you can't really imagine that team without her. A superb first half performance. So it's great to see her doing well. And like she was speaking after the game on TV, and she seems very, very confident, again, like the rest of them. But on the flip side, Beth Mead, who I think it was good for her to come on and score and get an assist as well, actually, because she's sort of been the unfortunate, casualty of that France game, and that she went out of the team without, there perhaps could have been other ways you could have changed the team. I don't think she necessarily did anything wrong, but she just, the position she was playing was the easiest one to move Lauren James into, I guess. But a good reminder for her that she's still got a role to play in this tournament, I think.
That's a really good point, I think, because she definitely wasn't like the weak link against France, was she? But yeah, it's all about getting Lauren James in. And also I do think it is all about Ella Toone. She completed 100% of her passes as well in that first half. she was brilliant. And actually, I think generally it was just down the England right. You had Toon, Bronze, and James, just those little intricate passes, and they just could not handle it, Wales. And then you've got the desire of Lauren Hemp to get on the end of that header. She looks again sort of back up to speed. It's all kind of looking pretty good. So on the FOTMOB app, Dave, I mean England actually, even though it's one of those cliches, they kind of scored 6. It could have been more, couldn't it?
Yeah, quite remarkable, really. Actually, if you look at the numbers, I mean, 24 shots, 11 on target. We created 12 big chances in the match, which is unheard of, really, in terms of your sort of average kind of numbers that you would normally expect to get. Every stat you look at, England are well on top. XG of 5.72 to Wales's 0.59. Wales only created one big chance, which I assume was the goal that they scored. But yeah, a dominant display from England everywhere you look.
And also Bieber Jones, just jumping back to her. Her goal was great, but I actually thought her assist was really nice for Beth Mead. She showed really good composure just to kind of shift it over to Mead. It's just getting very, very positive here, very positive that these impact subs are contributing as well. But unfortunately for you, Kathryn, you had the WhatsApp curse, didn't you? You were so close to what a prediction that would have been, by the way. You went for the Panenka. It looked like it was going in, but maybe just came off the bar because Dave kind of mentioned it. And then
I knew what I was doing there. Yeah, in our WhatsApp group, I said, "Oh, the 5-0 could be on here, Kathryn." And then about a minute later, Wales scored their goal.
I didn't even have a chance to reply to say yeah, it is, before I looked up and Wales were attacking, and then the ball was in the back of the net. I really needed that one as well, because the fact that I predicted Germany to beat Sweden, which turned out to be a terrible prediction.
Yeah.
I was going to be redeem myself, but it wasn't to be.
Well, none of us had a ridiculous handball off the line, did we? I think that kind of scuppered our predictions for that. It was superb, wasn't it? So it does mean it. Yeah, as Dave mentioned, at one point, because the Netherlands were beating France, England were going to play Germany in the quarterfinals, but it is now Sweden, which just on that game alone looks significantly harder. Well, of course, we'll go a bit deeper onto the Sweden preview in our preview pod ahead of the quarterfinal. But prediction league, is Ali Maxwell's reign of terror continuing at the top, Dave?
Very much so.
Yeah.
The streak is over, so he did get one wrong. I think, like the rest of us over the weekend, we didn't see Poland beating Denmark. But he's still got all the other ones right. So he's got 15 of the last 16 results correct. So he is now clear at the top. In second place, steaming up behind him, is Michael Cox. And it's quite bunched up behind that. And us three, you, Robyn, are in 9th. I am in 11th. Kathryn, you're in 12th. So we're all still bunched up in the middle of the pack. But no one really saw that win for Poland coming. And I don't think many of us predicted a Sweden win either. My Netherlands 3, France 2 prediction was looking like it could happen for a little while. But then obviously France... they motored on and got the win. Although I did see, to mention Michael Cox, I saw he was at the Netherlands-France game last night, and I saw him on social media being quite disparaging about the French, actually. Despite the fact that they won, he said the scoreline flattered them, and I think because Netherlands, when they were 2-1 up, they knew they needed to keep going because they had to get the goal difference. If France
they needed 3 clear goals, didn't they?
Yeah.
So that kind of...
I think France were able to take advantage of that on the counter-attack. So we'll see how France get on in their half of the draw. But I mean, look, as like you said, we will talk about the Sweden game in more detail when we do a preview pod. But I think it is worth throwing ahead a little bit now to it, because there was some debate amongst some of my mates who were watching the game. So people who were not necessarily women's football experts, and they just instinctively were like, "Oh, it's good to avoid the Germans." But I'm not sure that's necessarily the case. I mean, Sweden have won the group. They beat Germany handily the other night, and it's going to be a tricky game, I think, for England.
I think so. It's just there is that narrative with Germany. I know they don't look great, and yes, Michael Cox I think has written about he really isn't impressed with Germany at all. But Kathryn, it kind of is. England Germany does sort of feel different, doesn't it?
It does, and I think it was all about which side of the draw you wanted to be on, and I asked Sarina a little bit about it last night with the sort of proviso of, is it just an English thing to sort of plan your route to the, through the knockouts and think about the groups? And I sort of said, did it matter to you kind of which side of the draw you ended up on? And she said, like, no, we just wanted, you go in to win every game, and then you face who you face, sort of thing. If you want to win the tournament, you should be good enough to beat every team. But naturally, we sort of know that Spain are on the opposite side of the draw. Mm-hmm. And while Sweden looks like a tough game and they're in very, very good form, as semi-final, you start thinking about the semi-final before you play the quarter-final. It's I don't know if it is an English thing to do that, but you think, well, if they can get past Sweden, then Norway and Italy would be a much kinder semi-final than a semi-final of Spain, who are on the other side of the draw and who you expect, barring a huge shock, are going to beat Switzerland in their quarter-final. So our side of the draw does look nicer, but you have to think about the quarter-final first, and Sweden do look really, really strong. I still think England's team is better than Sweden overall in terms of the players that they've got. But it's that question of whether England sort of turn up and play to the level that they can do. I think
that's the thing, isn't it? England have chucked in a bad performance at this tournament, where you need to kind of be absolutely certain that that's behind them, I think. And Sweden haven't really. They've been pretty consistent. Can you imagine if Sarina Wiegman said, yes, we do really look at that, and we're very pleased that we're not going to meet Spain? That would have been, so un-Sarina-like.
I sort of wondered. I was thinking after we did the last pod, and I was looking at the games over the weekend in Group C with Sweden and Germany. I was sort of wondering whether they were thinking the same about us, like whether Germany were actually maybe not disappointed to lose that game with the knowledge that it was likely that England would probably finish second in the group. But there's all those sorts of things that you think about during tournaments, and people like us end up talking about it, but really, I think, as you say, Kathryn, it's the players and the managers. Like, basically, all you can do is just win your games. Like, maybe there's a little bit of tactical thought here and there. There was a lot of talk about it around Southgate in 2018, that Belgium game where he basically changed the whole team. I don't think he was too disappointed to lose that one, and we did benefit from it really in the end. But ultimately, especially with a 16-team tournament as well, it's not like there's loads of games and there's a long pathway. Like, we've got to win a quarter-final, then we're in a semi-final. And it will just be interesting to see the performance against Sweden. And, we've had a group stage with a bit of everything. We've had a bad performance against France, with a performance which gave us cause for concern about our chances in general for the whole tournament. Came roaring back against the Netherlands, beating a good team really well, and then we've dispatched a low-ranking opponent which potentially could have been a bit trickier, but we've absolutely blown them away. So really, if it ends up being an England-Spain final, that feels like really the two best teams in it, probably, for me. And I imagine the bookies probably would have agreed before the tournament that was maybe the most likely final. It's knockout football now, so it's going to be nerve-wracking, I'm sure, but hopefully it'll be exciting. And was it Sweden that Russo scored her back heel against in 2022?
It was in the semi-final. Yeah,
so we're going to see that a lot in the next few days, I'm sure, aren't we?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Obviously, we'd take a 4-0 now from the last meeting in the Euros. The only other thing I wanted to mention was, did you guys hear Grace Clinton on 5 Live talking about, she wrote on the wall chart they have England in the final, and that did not go down well with Lucy Bronze. She said, I'm trying to manifest, and Lucy Bronze said, do not touch the wall chart. I think it's her wall chart. So yeah, we can blame Grace Clinton. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but we'll blame her if this all goes to pot. And yes, the other thing is, Giorgio Russo out of Love Island, Alessia Russo scores. Coincidence? Most probably. Yeah. That'll do for today. Thank you for listening and for watching the England Pod Lionesses edition. We'll be back with a preview of that match against Sweden ahead of the quarter-final on Thursday.